Right, okay, guys, welcome to another collab video with Lukozer. It's after evening, I should say, Chris. It's just 14 minutes to 8. How the hell are you?
I'm surviving. I'm still here.
Your usual
Uh,
grumpy self. That's good
well,
to
yeah,
see.
yeah. I mean, I'm never going to change that much.
It's been a wee while. Obviously, we've done quite a few collabs. We've had Panther UK in on the Sid shows and that kind of stuff. But I think these videos, I'll call them top tens, but they're not always top tens because how could you have a top 10 crap game? It's a list.
It's the bottom 10.
I know. So it's been a wee while. I can't even remember the last one we done. It was probably
I
a good.
think it was the 10
Oh,
shitty sports games,
that's right. That's right. I remember that one.
and
Yeah,
it was a while ago because I think we did that before any of the Sid vids. So yeah, that was a while back.
that's a good few months ago. So yeah, you've seen the title. This I've not even made the title up yet, obviously, but it's called I don't know the 10 best
Well, it's going to be top 10 arcade shoot 'em ups.
shoot 'em ups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what we've Chris and I were trying to debate. Is it your personal top five, or is it ones that you think are standout games for whatever reason?
Well, as far as mine go, it is a bit of both. One of them is a game that really stood out for me, and when I go through the list, you'll instantly know which one that is. The rest, I would definitely say, are you know my favourite shoot 'em ups, especially among coin ops. But yeah, it's a bit of a mixture.
Yeah. Now, just to make you aware, neither of us know what each other has picked. There might be some duplicates I don't know. Now,
I have a feeling there might be.
it might keep the video under 2 hours if we're lucky.
Oh no, I don't know about that. No.
But what was I going to say? I mean, that's asking. I mean, if you're a regular to my channel, you probably know that shoot 'em ups are my favourite genre of video game. So, be nice to try and pick five as supposedly, like, I don't know, asking a wine connoisseur to pick his five favourite wines. I don't know. Let's just say there is a shitload of amazing shoot 'em ups that I've had to leave out. I mean, trying to pick five. And if we did this video next year, I'd probably pick another five.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Just because these are the five, well, the 10 that we're going to mention in this video, you know, does not mean that any of the games that we have not mentioned are going to be absolute shites. No, it's just that we can only choose five each, so of course there's going to be plenty that get left out. I also have a sneaking feeling I am going to strongly disagree with a couple of yours.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I always laugh at when we do these 10 lists, whatever they're called. We always get people, oh, what about this game and what about that game and what about
Yeah.
how could you leave that game out? Well, if I left that one, if I put that one in, then one of the other ones would have to have got left out. So
Yeah.
this is by and large not a well, it is. All our lists are the definitive 10. You want to
Yeah.
shoot them up, come to watch your videos, but
Exactly, yeah. This is going to put the argument to bed once and for all, like all their other ones have.
so before we start, I think what we need to do is define what is a shoot 'em up or a shmup. What would you term a shmup?
Right. This is actually a question that is not as easy to answer as you would think,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of games that would, because the obvious definition is, okay, it's a game where you shoot things. Well, there are plenty of games out there where you are shooting things, but no one would describe them as a shoot 'em up. Let's take, for example, like a game that we are both huge fans of, okay, like Rolling Thunder. Would you consider that a shoot 'em up?
Absolutely not.
No, and I wouldn't either, because there's the platform elements as well. So, trying to actually come up with a definitive definition of a shoot 'em up is pretty hard. but I have had a go at it. So I came up with this. I even wrote it down
Oh,
to make sure I remembered it. Okay.
I'm sitting down.
Right. So, definition of a shoot 'em up is a game where the acquisition of points through the shooting of targets, moving or stationary, is the only way to progress.
That's a pretty damn good summary of what a shoot 'em up is. Go and read it again.
Right, okay, so yeah, right, so the acquisition of points through the shooting of targets, moving or stationary, is the only way to progress in the game.
Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, I was going to say technically you get a bonus. Some shoot 'em up, you get a bonus at the end, but yeah, you've got to. That's
But you only get that bonus because you progressed to that point.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
And it
I mean,
also covers things like power ups because you've got to collect those power ups in order for you, to be in a position where you are able to continue shooting and therefore continue progressing.
yeah. I mean, when you strip back a shoot 'em up to its most basic. I don't know if you've watched my Beam Rider
Yeah.
video. I mean, that making that video just clarifies to me or confirms what a bloody amazing game that is. It's awesome.
Oh yes, yeah.
There was a bad version of that game. I could play it.
I wasn't totally bowled over with the Spectrum version. The audio is very lacking, I find, but the rest were fine.
It had a certain characteristic charm to it because the Spectrum colours are always quite vivid, aren't they?
Yeah, in some cases too vivid. There are some games where the Spectrum versions will make your eyes bleed, but with that, thankfully, because the background is mostly black, it's not too bad. But I mean, I would say it was the weakest of the lot, and considering there's something like about 9 or 10 different versions of it.
There was eight. There was 8 in total.
Okay. I mean, still plenty of them. So if I was to play Beam Rider, let's face it, if I was going to play Beam Rider, I'll play the one that I played back in the day. So I played the C64 one, even though visually there are better versions.
Mm. Yeah. Interesting you should say that about the Spectrum because a couple of people have chimed in and says they think the Spectrum one was the best.
Yeah. Let me guess, they owned Spectrums back in the day.
Anyway, we'll not get into the whole
Spectrum
P64 debate, but yeah. So getting back on topic. I mean, Beam Rider is one of the most basic kind of games you're going to get, but I mean, my definition of a shoot 'em up would be where it's just exactly what you're saying. You've got a spaceship, and that's probably the common, or not the common thing, the important thing. It's got to be a spaceship. If it's a man, then to me it doesn't become a shoot 'em up. It becomes something else.
Well, that's 2 of mine off your list already.
I know what's coming. Yeah, you control a spaceship and you move up, down, left, or right, and you press fire, which will inevitably release a missile or a bullet, whatever it is going to be. Now, technically, you could argue Rolling Thunder is left to right, up, down, fire. You can't punch anybody. You can only kill them with firing a bullet. So, it's when you look at it like that, even you could take it to extremes and look at Call of Duty, up. Although it may be 3D, it's still up, down, left, right, fire. We're kind of stripping video games back to their most basics. But I would normally expect a shoot 'em up to contain you control a base or a spaceship or an airplane or something, and you're shooting aliens, other spaceships, whatever. The minute it turns into you controlling a human being, that becomes something a wee bit different for me. You're making that face. What are you going to tell me?
Well, I'll say that rules out 2 of my choices. So, I'm not entirely sure I would agree with that because, okay, it's not a coin op, but think back to the earliest Atari 2600 game, Combat, and half the games there involve tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean that they are not considered shoot 'em ups because you're in a tank?
So again, I would class that as a shoot 'em up. I don't know. Is there an actual definition on Wikipedia?
If there is, I haven't looked.
You want to
So,
have a search for it?
huh?
You want to have a search for it, just out of curiosity? See what a shmup.
Right.
I think it was that 64 that came up with the shmup term.
Right.
You know what would be interesting, right? When you're doing that, I'm going to go to shmup.com. There is actually a website dedicated to shmups, and it would be interesting just to see.
Right. Well, I've got the Wikipedia page up here. It doesn't really help a lot. Shoot 'em up, also known as shmup or STG. I've never heard anyone refer to them as STG. Anyway, is a subgenre of video games within the shooter subgenre in the action genre. Now here comes the really unhelpful bit. There is no consensus as to which design elements compose a shoot 'em up. That is a lot of fucking use, wasn't it? So, yeah, that provided absolutely no help at all.
Obviously, somebody else, people better than us have had a crack at defining it and given up.
Yeah, so I think, well, I'm sure there are going to be people watching this who will have their stab at coming up with a definition of it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
I think video games is no different from like music and probably even films, and it always annoys me when somebody would say, "He's like, oh, who are you into? Oh, madness and the space. Oh, you're into ska or such and such." And people like to pigeonhole everything, and video games is no different. But then I think, I've got a feeling that I know what a couple of your games are going to be. At least one of them, I would probably that's on my reserve list. I've not included it because it's quite simply not a shoot 'em up. But that's got its own sub-genre of
Oh, okay.
I think we should just kick it off, Chris, and we can argue the merits as we go through it.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. I also think it would be a good idea if so we do it in reverse order, and you go first.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Now, just before we kick off, I would be interested to know what you guys think. What defines a shoot 'em up? Let us know what you think. Once, obviously, you're going to get to see what we're picking. Interested to see if you agree with Chris and I. Is that a shoot 'em up? Again, it's just a bit of fun because there is no right or wrong answer. Obviously, I'm right, but there is no right or wrong answer. So I think we just have to. We'll just wing it. We'll see how we go on with it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Have I put them in any particular order? Now, just to clarify my choice, I've not. If you ask me to pick my 5 favourite shmups, it would not be the 5 that I've picked. What I've tried to do is everyone that I've picked, I'm a fan of, but I've tried to kind of pick. What I've tried to do is if somebody came to me and says, "Look, I've never played a video game before, but I've just got this thing. Can you get games that you shoot things?" And I would say, "Well, you should need to play this game because you need to play that one because." So I've tried to kind of, try to pick, in my opinion, 5 not genre defining because they're all shoot 'em ups. They're all shoot 'em ups, but they're all different. They all scratch a different itch, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Right, okay. Have I got them in any order? No, I'm just going to work through. They're not in any particular order. I'm going to go from the top. Now, I'm picking the granddaddy of not just video games, but shoot 'em ups, but also video games, and it's the epic Space Invaders. Now, I'm going to just make an arse of myself and try and talk without even checking the facts like I normally do and usually get it wrong. I believe it was released by Taito, I think it was.
I think it may well have been. Yeah.
That was the one I remember, and then I think it was licensed by Midway in the UK, whatever it was. But you know what? Don't come to this channel for facts. You're going to hear a lot of lies. If you want to get accurate information, go and look somewhere else because you're not going to get that here. But yes, Space Invaders. Now, apart from the nostalgia aspect, it was the very first video game apart from briefly seeing Pong a couple of years before, and I just looked at it and I didn't know what it was, and I walked on. When I first saw Space Invaders, I was like, wow, why are these people crowded down this large wardrobe in the sports centre? And all I could hear was this ominous sort of, I'm not even going to attempt to make the noise, the thud, thud, thud sound of it. And it had this real iconic artwork of these, they look like... they
look like sort of Yetis to me, yeah.
Yeah. $6 million man, they look like them. They were quite scary looking, throwing these big kind of rocket things. I always remember thinking when I saw the video game, I thought, they don't look anything like the things in the side of the
yeah.
They were more like men on the side. They look more like, I don't know, something like robots, whatever. But yeah, this game, and it's a game that, people would say, oh, it's a boring game, but what I like about it was the granddaddy of shoot 'em ups, as far as I was concerned. But it's the simplicity that makes the game. You should actually, if you don't play Space Invaders, you should make a point of playing it. And it doesn't take prisoners. If you die at it, it's because you're shit. There's nothing about you can't just press the wrong button, whatever. It's left and right and fire. And there are so many. I mean, I do play it. I see it on a regular basis on my main cab, and I love it. I mean, I think I can get about 4,000, which isn't actually a bad score. It's quite a low-scoring game. And if this helps any, my girlfriend actually enjoys playing Space Invaders. It's only bloody video game she'll play, so take with that what you will. But I just think it was an iconic game. It's you can't get a more basic game. There was no thrill. There was no like bonuses. There's no extra weapon. There's not even any background apart from the was that kind of cardboard moon?
Yeah, it's like an overlay that's on the screen there. Yeah.
Yeah, the cardboard moon, and that was it. It's the most basic game, but it's a great game. Even then there's tricks and tactics. I think if you fire 11 shots, and then you wait for the UFO come in, and you'll get 300 points.
I think it varied. Yeah, it could be anywhere 100, 200, 300.
It was something like 11, and then every 23rd shot, something like that. But it's got its wee nuances, whatever you want to call it. But it's a simplistic game. It's the and if you actually make a point of playing it, it is so challenging, and that's why I've picked that as my first game. Are you a fan of Space Invaders?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, it's not the oldest video game. The weird thing is, I mean, it came out in '78, so video games had already been around for nearly 10 years. But it was like the genesis of, video gaming as for a mainstream audience. Because up until that point, video games were sort of, things that were played by, computer nerds and all this, and that was it. No one else was interested. Then along came Space Invaders. And, I mean, anyone who was not around at the time, you cannot even begin to imagine the impact that Space Invaders had. And it was totally revolutionary. I suspect part of the appeal was the sheer simplicity of the gameplay and the fact that it was just, there had been nothing like it before. Like I say, there were video games around, but they were incredibly basic. Pong, just moving a line up and down, to deflect a moving block. I mean, okay, you had like Space Wars and what was the other one on Death Race? So there were some that had like some sort of complexity, but Space Invaders had like complexity of design coupled with simplicity of gameplay, and it just meant that instantly it became an enormous hit, and deservedly so. No game released since then has had anything like the sort of impact that this one had. Yeah, I was a huge fan of it back then. Even though when I first played it, I was so short I couldn't see over the cabinet properly, so I couldn't see the base moving around at the bottom there. Um, I mean, I still play it today, though, to be honest, most of the time if I'm playing it now, I'll play the Atari 2600 version. I just thought that was fucking fantastic, you know. So, yeah, if I play it now, then, yeah, I'll be playing that one. But, yeah, I still play Space Invaders now, you know, and it's, what, how many years now? What, 42 years. And it's still going strong.
I mean, I've already touched on it. I think the sound effects were a big part of it. It was an ominous sound. You know, it was an ominous sound of impending doom because you knew you were never going to beat the game. And
I think that definitely had something to do with it because, of course, before that, all the sound effects you got in video games was just very simple beeps and blips, and that was it. This had something very different, and that sound when you fired, you'd never heard anything like that in any sort of game before.
You could walk into any chip shop or any sports centre, and you would just hear the.
Yeah.
You're like, that's Space Invaders.
Yeah, so you knew instantly what it was. Yeah.
You just knew what it was. Yeah. No, so I think we both agreed that Space Invaders deserves a place in our kind of top 10.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it couldn't be a top 10 shoot 'em up list and not have that.
Fantastic. Right, over to yourself.
Right, now my one came along, or my number 5 came along 4 years later. Keep that in mind. 4 years ago, you had Space Invaders, and this was utterly revolutionary. Fast forward 4 years to 1982, and you get Astron Belt, the Laserdisc game. And, I mean, this is another one where you absolutely had to be back in the day, because nobody had seen anything like it in any video game, because suddenly it wasn't just a video game you were playing, you were seeing film footage behind, and unlike a lot of Laserdisc games, there was actually some interaction between the computer-generated graphics, the ship that you're moving around, and what's happening on screen with the film footage being shown. You're actually firing on these ships and you're destroying them. And of course, when you hit them, you get the whole screen filled with this enormous explosion.
Was the explosion like an actual sort of film quality explosion again?
Oh yeah. It was all taken from film footage. The majority of the game came from 3 films. It had some of Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. It had some from The Last Starfighter, and it had some from it was some like I think it was a Japanese. It was like a knockoff of Star Wars. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. I'm gonna have to check and see what that thing was called. And but it did also have some film footage that was recorded specifically for this game. Now, it wasn't particularly great. I've also just noticed the game actually came out in 83, not 82, so it was 5 years on from 5 years on from Space Invaders.
Who made the game again? So just interject. Just to make you aware, guys, Chris and I don't actually. I know you can see the footage on this video, but Chris and I are just working from memory. We're not. So that's why I'm asking questions. When you're thinking, I can see it's there. Whatever. So who made that again, Astron Belt?
Yeah, it was. It was released by Sega and Bally Midway. It was like a joint enterprise between the two.
Yeah. And of course, that was a series of these Laserdisc games, wasn't it? There was quite a few. There was like Grand Prix again by Sega, but it was you controlled quite a nice looking sort of pole position type F1 car, and it was just against this streaming video of a racetrack.
Yeah, that's right.
Move left and right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Laserdiscs it was a bit of a fad, to be honest, because let's face it, the actual cabinets themselves were ludicrously expensive. They were horribly unreliable. They kept going wrong, and so yeah, it didn't last very long. But when you consider that 82, when the first Laserdisc games came out, I mean, Dragon's Lair was 1982. So 82, 83, when the Laserdiscs were at like their peak. Back home, okay, they were still new. We had just got home computers, but we were playing games, like Snake and Motor Mania and stuff like that on your 64, or you were playing Trans Am on your 16K Spectrum. And then you went down the arcades and you see Astron Belt there, and you think, well, there is no way this is ever going to appear on a computer. And I remember thinking that for getting on 30 years until I finally got hold of Daphne. I was sitting here playing Astron Belt on my PC. I could not believe it. I mean, it was a game that was, getting on for 30 years old, and yet I still could not believe that I was sitting here actually playing it on my PC.
Yeah.
Fucking unreal.
When you think about it, I mean, it went from like, Space Invaders, and then within even, I mean, when you think of other games that were coming out, being like maybe Scramble, whatever, that were coming out, and Mooncrest are coming out and stuff, maybe 82, 83, it suddenly went from like basic graphics to whoosh, like super realistic graphics.
Yeah.
And it just jumped so much. Ultimately, I think they realised that whether it was down to the fact that the interaction, because it was streaming video, then the interaction was always going to be very, very limited. Coupled with the fact that the hardware was so expensive. And at the end of the day, these machines, they did not exist to entertain, they existed to make money. So no arcade guy is going to want to have one of these sitting in the back out of working order when he can have two Space Invaders, a Pac-Man and a Mooncrest stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when they first came out, they were very sought after. Say 82, 83, every arcade had some Laserdisc games, because they knew, well, firstly, they always charged a premium, and this was a time when all arcade games were 10p a credit. The Laserdisc games came along and they were 20p a credit. So straight away they're making, twice as much per go. And there was, you would have queues of people standing behind whoever it is playing it, and they were having to say, right, have your one go and then get to the back of the queue if you want another go. So other people would come along and actually play the thing. So they were extremely popular, but of course this was when they had just come along, and the owners of these arcades didn't know just how unreliable and how fragile the actual cabinets were. And when you think about it, now it seems a bit obvious, because a Laserdisc was not designed to be playing its disc 24/7, and yet the cabinets were designed for that. So it was almost inevitable that the Laserdisc players were going to go wrong, which they did.
You got a bit of kicking as well in arcades, people banging it when they were
yeah.
Jump, whatever. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it was probably an ill-advised kind of bit of technology. But yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think I ever saw any in person. I mean, I saw Dragon's Lair, but yeah, I think it is deserved. It was of its time. I mean, absolutely. I think they suddenly, and it's kind of similar to, well, very, very similar to home computers. When we went from discs to CD, oh, brilliant, we can put in all this, full motion video. And they thought that that's what people want, but then actually when you get down to the meat and bones of it, you realise, well, it's actually a bit shit. But was Astron Belt actually quite a good shmup?
Yeah, I thought it was great. If I could own any arcade machine on the understanding that it would always work, then Astron Belt would be my choice. It was also the first game that I'm aware of anyway. There may have been an earlier one. But it was the first one where the deluxe cabinet that you sat in, like when your ship exploded, if you were destroyed, the seat vibrated. So it had the additional features there. So even before, the likes of, was it Outrun and Space Harrier and all that, this had, the part you were sitting in actually interacted with the on-screen display as well. So yeah, I think it was ahead of its time.
Revolutionary, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen it. Did they have one in your local arcade?
Never had the sit-down deluxe cabinet, but just about every arcade had a stand-up Astron belt there. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they not have like the real cheesy kind of 80s voiceover? Welcome to Astron Belt.
Actually, no, it was a lot more subtle than that. Like when it had the track mode, it didn't have any sound effects playing at all. The only thing it had was the intro music, which was very sci-fi sounding, but it wasn't like blastingly loud. I mean, if you're even if you were standing right at the machine, all you needed to have was somebody sort of like playing Pac-Land in the background, and that thing would fucking drown it out. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's a type of video game that it was for its time, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think well-deserved place in our top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right, moving on. I'm just going to do them in the order I've written them down. This was a game, I don't even know when it came out. It came out shortly after Space Invaders, but it basically, it was like it just took everything that made Space Invaders good. It turned it on its head. It just gave it a good shake, and it gave it the most delightful graphics. And I always remember my first time I saw this machine. I was very fortunate. My mum and dad took me to America. I had an aunt that lived in America, and it was 1982, I think it was. And I was going up the stairs in Heathrow, and I just saw this screen, and it was like visuals, and that game is Galaxian. Now,
Yeah.
Galaxian is, again, this is just I mean, to look at it now, it's never ever dated. Some might argue that Space Invaders is dated. I would ask anybody to play Galaxian and say it's dated. It still looks amazing because of the black background, the little blinking stars, Starfield, all different colours.
And of course the multicoloured sprites.
Yeah, it was like multicoloured sprites. Yep. It was the noise was just like haunting. If you thought Space Invaders was bad, you get this like shrieking noise of these things dive bombing you in. I mean, it was, it would literally last. I was lucky if I lasted 45 seconds. It was just, you immediately move to the right. You just try and stay out to the side, and you're dead. You're dead within seconds. It's such a difficult game, but to my mind, it's one of it's even now I think it's an absolutely beautiful looking game. And if I had to pick, you've already told me what yours is. If I had to pick one arcade game that I could have and nothing else, it would be Galaxian, because to me it's just a timeless game. I can now maybe get about, I don't know, 8 or 9 levels in, so I've kind of got a wee bit better. And the fact was, it was also the very first game I got to run under name. And I remember the noise as my jaw hit the floor when I loaded this floppy disk into my PC, and I typed name, whatever it was, Galaxian.zip, and suddenly there's bloody Galaxian. Yeah. And I don't think I had any sound, but I was in absolute awe. I thought, how is that possible? And I just think even now it's a game that I still play regularly. Rather annoyingly, Charlie Farr, who's a regular on my channel, Dave, he holds the world record at Galaxian. It's something like 2.4 million. There is a 7-hour video of Dave playing it in his kitchen. It's worthwhile checking out if you want to get some tips. But I just love it. It's video games in its purest form. Can't say any more about it than that. I just love it to bits.
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. I mean, visually stunning. I mean, it's still visually impressive today. So you can imagine when he first saw it in, was it 81, I think, was it Galaxians?
I'm not 100% sure.
And, suddenly, because, back then, you had, obviously, like most of the games were they may have had one or two colours, but everything was like solid colour, a bit like, you know, the old Spectrum games of the time. And there was also plenty of games around then which were played on black and white screens, so we were all so used to monochromatic displays. And then this came along, and suddenly everything is multicoloured, and the colours are very, very striking. Now on main, especially on an LCD monitor, it doesn't have that impact, but on a CRT monitor, it really is sort of like in your face. The visuals are staggering.
The colours kind of bleed, don't they? But you know, it just gives it the glow. It's like glowing graphics. It's beautiful, and it's the one machine. If you were to stand in a dimly lit arcade, it's mesmerising. Just seeing this, you might not see exactly what's on the screen, but just seeing the visuals, beautiful.
Yeah, and the audio, I think, confidence, the visuals, absolutely spot on. I mean, they got it absolutely perfect. You get the impression that they put more thought and more effort into like the presentation as well as the gameplay back then than they do now. Even though now you get all the graphics scores saying, oh, we want photorealism and all that. Okay, but at this sort of time, no, early 80s, they had nothing like that to work on, so they're having to do all of this just, you know, off the, well, not off the top of their head, but it's something that they are having to imagine.
Yeah.
So I think they put as much, if not more, effort into making sure that the game was visually appealing then than they do now, and it worked.
Yeah, I don't think you could actually improve on Galaxian. As for the type of game it is, I don't think you could possibly change anything about it.
No, I mean it's basically Space Invaders, but with every single aspect of it turned up to 11. You know, it's you know.
That's exactly it. Yeah, just absolutely stunning game. I mean, I don't want to preempt anything that you've maybe said, but there's obviously been a couple of. I think the sequel was Galaga, and then was it Plus? I think it was.
Yeah.
I never really warranted them the same as Galaxian.
Oh, I did quite like Galaga, Galaga Plus, and then you had was it the
Did you? You mean Galaga, not Galaga.
Galaga.
Galaga. It's Galaga.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. So Galaga, and then Galaga Plus, and then you had was it the Super? Was it Galaga 88? I think that was the last incarnation of Galaga, wasn't it, or Galaxians, whatever. Galaga 88 was okay, but I think by then they'd kind of overdone it, and I would much rather be playing like, you know, the original Galaxians or Galaga than Galaga 88.
And you know what's crazy was there was never, I don't think there was ever, until, what do you call it? I can't even remember, the name of it doesn't matter. Until that fairly recent game came along, there was never ever a good version of Galaxian on the C64.
I know the game you've got in mind, and I can't for me remember the name of it either.
It was written by my mate Jason Aldrin. Fantastic game, but that's more Galaga. That was more up in its hat to that sort of thing. But I can only remember, but the only Spectrum, the only C64 version of the Galaxian that I remember playing was by a company called Solar Software. And I even remember the name of it. It's amazing how you can remember these real nerdy things. It was written by a guy called John Shea, and it was the only one I could possibly play. And I remember thinking it was rubbish, but I played it because it was the best I was going to get. It was just simply no.
But I mean, back then, of course, you know, it was a case of, okay, do you want to play Galaxians on the computer? Well, you play this crappy version, or you don't play. They were the only options you had, so, you know.
You had nowhere else to go, I know. Yeah. But anyway, I think we've waxed lyrical quite enough about Galaxian, but I think I'm proud to have that in my top 5.
Yeah, fine choice. Right, which brings me on to my number 4. Now, this is the most recent game on my list, and I suspect it's going to be the most recent list or recent game of the 10. This is from '86, so this is Salamander. Now, when I first played Salamander, I did think, visually very striking, but I didn't like it. And I've always been wondering why, because it did take a little while to grow on me, and now I think it's fucking fantastic. I think the reason was because back then I used to play Gradius or Nemesis, whatever you want to fucking call it, a hell of a lot, because Gradius came out in '85, didn't it? And then Salamander was '86. So because, I think at the time it was released as a sequel to Nemesis, and then it sort of got sideways moved to being an offshoot of it rather than an out-and-out sequel. So the fact that it changed quite a bit from the original Nemesis took a bit of getting used to, specifically when you're picking up the power-ups, but you get the power-up directly. You don't, just pick up the orbs and then select it. So I think that was one of the reasons why at first I couldn't get on with it. But once I'd had a few goes and I was actually able to get somewhere, it suddenly dawned on me, okay, yeah, this is actually something pretty special. And I've always been a big fan of the way that it alternated between horizontal and vertical scrolling levels. And as far as I can remember, it's about the only shoot 'em up I've played where that happened.
Something's niggling me that I did play a shoot 'em up and it had that. It might be in Salamander actually, I can't remember. I've got to say, it's a game that kind of has sort of passed me by. I mean, I've played it a few times, and it never ceases to impress me with its visuals. You've got the big kind of teeth that come out the thing, and you pick up the power-ups pretty quick, and it's very, very, visually it's astonishing. I've never really put a lot of time into it. It's one that I really need to actually rectify.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Yeah, definitely worth playing some more. And of course, simultaneous two-player mode, which Gradius didn't have. None of the Gradius games had. So that was another Salamander-only feature. But to me, it's taken all of the things that made the original Gradius game good and built on it. So yeah, simultaneous two-player, picking up the power-ups, straight off the bat instead of having to select them. I much prefer that. And the thing I really like about it is when you lose a life, there's no reset points. It just keeps on going. And I much prefer that. I hate reset points in scrolling shooters. And this has done away with them. And that for me, I don't care about the rest of it, to be honest. The fact that it's got that means, yeah, it's good,
Do you lose your power up?
You lose them all, but they appear around you. So if you're quick enough, you can pick them up again, or you can pick up some. If you've got any of the options or multiples, whatever you want to call them, you can pick those up. But I think if you've got things like weapons and the missiles and that, those are gone.
Yeah. Of course, the options. You know what? You're just reminding me of games. Oh, damn, I could include Nemesis, whatever.
See, Nemesis was a great game, no doubt about it. But I think Salamander, I'd say, it built on and improved just about every aspect of it. So that's why I gave Salamander the nod over Nemesis. Unfortunately, it then all went rapidly downhill. Vulcan Venture, visually impressive, but far too fucking difficult. Then you had Gradius 3, visually boring and far too fucking difficult.
Actually, I'm kind of moving away from the subject a wee bit. I was reading my Zap annual, 2019 annual, and Jazz Rignall was kind of reviewing. He was looking at the gold medals that were given out in the first 20 Zaps. Yeah. And he was basically saying, Elite. Well, there was only one guy that reviewed Elite, but they were saying it was the best game ever, and he was some of them he said are just as good, other ones not quite so good. But he was saying that back then there was a sort of a way of thinking that the harder the game was, the better the game was.
Yeah, coming from Julian Brignall, that's no surprise at all.
He was a bit of a ninja when it came to games. It was true though, you know, you thought, well, that the harder the game was, it'd be a better game. I suppose when you think about it, if a game, say like Mamemeister for example, there's only 20 screens. If that was easy, then you'd complete it in half an hour. So you had to have the difficulty to kind of make it, to give you a bit of sort of value for money if you completed it really quick.
I agree with that to a degree, but it's okay. Right, just how difficult do you make it? Salamander was challenging. I mean, it wasn't easy by any stretch, you know. But I think they got the difficulty just right with that. I think they also got the difficulty just right with the original Nemesis. But with Vulcan Venture and Gradius 3, they took the difficulty to ridiculous lengths, and it backfired on them big time because they were both commercial disasters. And the reason for it was they cranked up the difficulty because they were thinking, right, make it really difficult, people will put more money in to keep trying to play. In fact, it had the exact opposite effect. It was so difficult it put people off. So, yeah, the games were commercial flops.
I mean, there was games that, because I never lived near the arcades, the chances of me getting to play video games are few and far between. Maybe only played a couple of games in a year. And yeah, some of these games, like, I mean, Galaxian, I was like a moth drawn to the light. I knew I was going to get electrocuted and die, but I just wanted to play it, you know.
Yeah.
10 pence from, you know what I mean? And 45 seconds later, I was dead. And then I would just sit and stare at the tracked mode and pretend that I was playing it. I would move the joystick and press the fire button to pretend you were playing it.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, Salamander, it's one I definitely need to revisit. And if I'm right in thinking, I think the C64 had a fantastic conversion.
It wasn't bad. It did suffer from one big problem. The multi-load was horrendous. But I mean, if you had like the disc version, or if you're playing it on emulators now and you can skip the loading times, it was a great conversion. Visually, it's as good as you could possibly have hoped for. I remember we mentioned in a live stream or two before that obviously the fact that I live in Southend and that meant that I was spending an awful lot of time, back in my school days, down the seafront, down the arcade, basically every Saturday. That's where I was. So I got to see a lot of these games, far more than probably the average person did. So when it came to like conversions on the 64, I am far more critical of them because I've got much better memories of how the game looked, sounded and played. And so when I see the conversion, I just think, no, it's shite, whatever.
Because I didn't have that problem because I never got to play arcade games. For the first, 20 years of my video games playing life, Slap Fight, it was the C64 one, Arkanoid, the C64 one, and then suddenly I'm getting to this thing called MAME arrived and I could suddenly play them and like, wow.
Yeah, I suspect that you were probably like the target audience for all of those arcade conversions. Someone who was a huge fan of arcade games but didn't get the chance to play them. So I would imagine that if you could see, like regional sales at the time, you'd probably find that a lot of seaside towns, those games didn't sell anywhere near as well as they did in more land.
Because I used to sometimes think to myself, I'm paying, 90 or say I'm paying £10 for a conversion by Imagine, whatever it would be, That was potentially, what was that, 10? What would that be, 110 pences?
Yeah, so yeah.
You could have taken your 10 quid, went down to the arcade in Southend and put 100 credits into an arcade game. Because I was stuck at home playing my lacklustre C64 conversion.
The thing is, if the conversion was good, if you were thinking about it in that way as like it being like a 10p per go, you'd soon have spent that tenner, in next to no time. So
Aye.
in that way, then yeah, it works out all the better for you,
Yeah. But no, absolutely. Who made Salamander?
That's
Konami.
Konami, yeah.
Konami, yeah.
Maybe your next live stream, Konami games live, and have a few salamander goes.
That's a good shout, actually. That is a good shout. Yeah, definitely need to do that. So anyway, that's your number 2 then.
Number 4.
Sorry.
Number 4. I'm doing in reverse order. Remember?
Right, good stuff. Right, on to my number 3. Where do I begin with this one? Suffice to say, I'm going to give the show away. I've got a dedicated controller for this game. It's a game, if you can master this game, then you are the god of arcade video games, and it's Eugene Jarvis's Defender. Whoa.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, it's. I would probably say it's. I don't think many folk would disagree. It's probably the most difficult arcade game.
It's definitely up there with them, yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to bring down my. I always like to show this thing off, but I mean, what other game had a controller that looked like that?
Yeah.
Counting the buttons, each and every single one of them did something. You had Space Invaders, which had left, right, and fire. This thing had up, down, reverse, hyperspace, smart bomb, thrust, and fire.
Yeah,
so,
and the actual fire button.
Yeah. And so you had to learn to play this game, and for I don't know how many years, up until last year, 2 years ago, probably the best part of 35 years, I have actively avoided Defender because I can't play it, and to play it using a joystick, no, it's not right. It's you completely lose. Perhaps if Defender came out as a joystick game, then a bit like what do you call it, Archer McLean game on the C64.
Drop Zone.
Drop Zone, yeah, that was kind of that was Defender with a
joystick. Yeah, it was basically Defender playing with it.
It was a good game, but what makes that game so appealing to me is, well, again, it's like the Galaxian thing. It looks stunning. I mean, when you look at it, it's fairly basic. It's got a little sort of mountain range at the back. It looks stunning, and the sound is. It's got the best sound effects of any video game in my opinion.
Yeah, the sound and the visuals on things like the explosions and that. I mean, it is pure Eugene Jarvis, isn't it?
I always want to meet him so I can see what I'm doing for making a game like that. But I was very fortunate. I was down in the arcade club about 6 months ago, and one of my friends, Paul Spriggs, I think he's like the third highest in the world, whatever. And it was a Williams weekend, so they had a collection of all these ninjas, all the Williams games, your Robotron, your Defender. There was all these gaming ninjas, and there was me. And then I'm just standing by.
Yeah.
2 seconds later, boom, game over. But seeing the control, how these guys can control us, it's amazing. And after, when I came back, I'd said to my mate Mike, any chance of knocking me up that? She's made that controller, and I've not used it as often as I should, like pretty much everything that I own. But I have been playing it a wee bit, and instead of being absolutely pish, I am just completely mediocre. I mean, I can maybe get about 4 waves in or something, but I can now control the ship, and I can imagine it's like being able to go a bike. Suddenly, like, I can't go a bike, and suddenly you can go a bike. I can suddenly control this spaceship, and it's got the most beautiful shooting effect.
Yeah, definitely.
This kind of breaks
and so yeah, the little sort of like interrupts in there, so it's not a perfect stream. Yeah, small details like that, but it makes the difference. It really does. Give the visuals the extra impact.
Aye, everything about it graphically. Again, it had the same appeal of Galaxian. the black background. I mean, I think most of the arcade games in the early back, they were all set in space. You always had you had the black background, the glowing stars, but the sound in that game is iconic. You could start up a game of Defender, and I guarantee that 99% of people that watch this channel would go, "That's Defender." The fact, the laser sound, everything about it. I mean, he brought out Stargate, which was sort of
Defender 2, wasn't it?
it was Defender 2. Again, it's to Defender what Galaxy was to Space Invaders. It took the original recipe, it threw in a bit more ice in and jam and whipped cream and all that, and it also, I mean, there's Defender can be a wee bit clunky at times. I don't know how long it took him to program it, but there was a few bugs, and there was times where it maybe didn't run as the way it should. Whereas he basically, Stargate was the game I think that he always wanted to make. It ran perfectly. Dare I say, it looked even more glowy, the visuals. And he's added a few extra things into it. There's
the Stargates themselves.
There's an invisible. Stargates. I'm trying to think what it's called. Stargate. The hints in the name, Alan. Then you've got your invisible cloak. So there's all that's going on. But the purists that I met when I was doing an arcade club say Stargate's lovely, but we still prefer Defender. It's original.
I'm with them on that. I much prefer the original Defender to Stargate. It's not that I'm saying Stargate is, not a good game, but the original one always wins out. The game is, like you say, staggeringly hard. I mean, if you've never played it before, and let's face it, anyone watching this has played it before. But let's say, for example, there's someone here who has never played it, but they're watching it running now on the footage you're showing. They are probably sitting there thinking, "That's pretty easy to me." Yeah, okay. Now try playing it and trying to do what you're seeing on the screen here. The game is fucking really, really hard. I mean, I consider myself doing staggeringly well if I can get to the third wave. If I can clear 2 waves, that's me fucking, I'm doing amazing this go. Normally, I can't even get off the first one. I've never been able to get the grips with the controls. So, although the purists are not going to thank me for this, one reason why I like some of the conversions is because I can use a joystick and it's back to regular controls again. Although that said, the best conversion, I think the best conversion by a mile, which is Guardian for Commodore 64, you've got no joystick controls there. You are still using the standard Defender controls for that one. So it's every bit as tough as the coin-op original.
I mean, I think it's one I can't think of any other game offhand where just not even mastering the controls, but just basically being able to grasp the controls and actually, I mean, I can now play the game and I know where I'm going and I can do the reverse and I can move up and down. I'm just not that. I need to think about it a wee bit. I'm still shit at it, but the sense of accomplishment that you get when when it finally clicks, but you need that to play it properly, and that's the unfortunate thing. Unless you were there back in the day, or you're lucky enough to have one of these controllers, you're not really going to get it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, knowing how to control it is easy. Okay, right, I've got to turn around the other way, just press reverse. Now press fire. Okay, now I need to, move a bit, so press thrust. So knowing what to do is easy, but actually putting it into practice, remembering where all those buttons are and which one is which, that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's a bit like rubbing your head and patting your tummy or whatever.
Yes.
With baddies coming at you from all angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, it's. It's. If I said that to Paul. I said if there was one game that I wish I could play, it's Defender, because if you can master Defender, then you can own any video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, so that's my number 3. Yeah, it is number 3 because it's in the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Defender by Williams.
Yeah, another fine choice. Okay, so on to my number 3. And in a manner of speaking, we've partly covered this game already because 2 games that I've mentioned, or you've mentioned actually, appear in this one. And I've kind of cheated a little bit because I've been able to include multiple games in one title. I've already given away what it is, haven't I? Basically, it's the now that's what I call music of arcade games from back in the day. So yeah, it is golf. And basically with this one, what you've got is, all your favourite arcade games all added into one. So you've got Space Invaders, you've got Galaxians, you've got, a couple of levels that are completely unique to it as far as I'm aware. And then you've got the mothership from the Phoenix, all in one title. So I was a huge fan of this back in the day. I am still a huge fan of it now. I probably play this more than any game we've mentioned so far on this list. Visually, I think it's fantastic. The sound effects, they are staggeringly loud, especially when you lose a life. I mean, it just blasts you back in your back. Of course, you had the speech that was included, which at the time this came out, I'm trying to remember when this came out, 82, I think, was it?
It was early.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure it was 82.
You can talk and I'll just do a quick step.
Okay, all right. So yeah, it had it had everything. Visually striking, especially 81. So it's even earlier than I thought.
Midway,
So yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a midway game, and some of the levels in particular, was it the laser war level, the second level where they're firing down the long strings of that? Yeah, that's it. I always thought, like, visually, I thought that looked fantastic, that level. I mean, the level actually is quite easy, you can get through that no problem. But I always thought visually, yeah, that one in particular just looked really good. But, I mean, I just can't fault the game at all. It's got everything I want in a shoot-up.
Yeah,
It's combined everything.
I can't remember where. I remember playing it in the arcades. I can't remember where the hell it was. Was it the Sports Centre? It might have been the Sports Centre. The Sports Centre was one of the places where I tended to sort of play my video games. But obviously, yeah, you've touched on the speech. You would be standing beside it and it would be coin detected in pocket. You're like, how did it know that? And then it also had an absolute awesome, big, chunky metal controller, wasn't it? Like joystick.
Yeah, it was, I really liked that. I don't know if it had a top button, but it had the trigger fire button, and it's the first game I can think of that had that.
It was the trigger. It was the trigger button. Yeah. No other computer game. I mean, you had that on the, your Quick Shot 2 joysticks, whatever it was. But
yeah, when they worked for like the half hour.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always remember, even to this day, I was always really surprised at how they must have negotiated a deal, obviously with Taito, they were probably in bed with Taito because Midway obviously published Space Invaders. I'm sure my mate Tony Temple would probably be able to give us all the background behind it, but then also they had the Galaxian, though it wasn't. It was. The versions I had weren't, and I hope I'm not very upset with saying this, they weren't as good as the originals.
No. None of the versions that appeared in this were as good as the originals, but I don't think they didn't dare make them exactly the same as the originals, because then nobody would have played the originals. They would have just played this.
Aye.
So I think that was an intentional design choice. Make each level very, very reminiscent, but don't make them exactly the same as the originals, because otherwise, Taito or whoever will take one look at it and just say, no, we're not letting you release that.
And you can imagine a game coming out, the first level's like Pac-Man, the second one's like Defender, the third one's like Asteroids, and then there's Commando to finish. Anyway, no, I don't think so.
Exactly.
But then, yeah, and of course, so yeah, the first level, which was
First level was Space Invaders.
Space Invaders, and it had that unique barrier.
That's right. Yeah, instead of the three like base parts that you could hide under, it had the entire barrier around, but they could only stop one hit.
Aye, it kind of chips away at it, and then the thing that most kind of novices would do is you would rattle the fire button as quick as you could, but the bullets would, as soon as you press the button again, would disappear.
That's right, yeah. So you had to just press it once and let it keep going, and that actually took a bit of getting used to.
Not to press it again.
Yeah.
I think on the second level, the second level was the one you're talking about.
I think it was like the laser war or something.
Aye, something like that. But what you could, I'm just trying to have a look at it in Wikipedia. It tells you. But what it would, doesn't matter. Aye, what you could do with that was, as they were dive bombing you, you could just hit the fire button as quick as you could, because then you basically just
exactly, and take them out at point blank range.
Then the third one was that the Galaxian?
Yeah, third was the Galaxians level.
Then the fourth was like a meteor shower where you.
The fourth was the space warp.
It's kind of similar to what the hell, Gyrus, sort of. They were coming from the centre of the screen towards you.
Visually, in particular, it really did look like Gyrus. Which is another great game, by the way.
I know, and I'm just thinking that's another one I've missed off my list.
So yeah, visually it looked like it. I find that the gameplay-wise, it didn't play a lot like it, because of course you're still stuck around the bottom there. But that was another one, another level that was really visually striking. That did look really impressive.
And I think you could see the wee dots where they were, and if you moved up to the top, you could almost and make sure you avoid the guy, because the guy would come out and go.
That's it. So many players would always be like tempted to just move right up near the centre there and try and fire him as soon as he comes out, but that is really difficult to do. I would not do that.
And then, of course, the last level, you see, it was the sort of spaceship that was going along the top, and it gradually moved down, and again, you had to chip away bits of it, and I think, could you not get killed with the sort of shrapnel as well, I think?
If you hit the mothership, because of course it also had that barrier again from the first one, but this time the barrier is protecting the mothership. So first you had to shoot through that, and then the mothership's already shooting down at you. But if you any of your shots hit it, then bits of the shrapnel would fall down, and they'd also kill you if they hit you. So it was pretty tough.
Yeah, and then of course, spoiler alert, if you actually destroyed the centre of, you have to then chip away at the body and get to the kind of the core, and then it would like bleed all this blood.
and the sound effect absolutely deafens you.
But I remember. I mean, that, again, just what you were saying earlier on. I'd never seen Gorf at all. The one that I had was in the C64, which I thought was a really, really commendable.
Yeah, it's a great conversion.
Version. I'm sure I did a Arcade Perfect on Gorf, and I don't think any of the home versions that I can recall had the Galaxian.
None of them did. I think whoever it was it Bally Midway who did Gorf, they had somehow lost the license for Galaxians, so none of the home conversions were able to include that level, so they only had 4 sections.
But an absolutely awesome game again, absolutely iconic. I do remember I was down at a place. Oh Christ! It was before like arcade clubs. It was like an arcade barn or something, and it was this guy. I can always remember his name. He was called Ravi or Rav, and it was when I used to be in the Yak forums with Jeff Minter. In fact, I'll tell you a quick anecdote when I'm into it, I can go into it. But there was Jeff Minter, there was me, there was maybe 20 of us went down. It was right down the bloody bottom. In fact, it probably was it was probably down near Southend. It was right down Oxford kind of way. It was miles away. And we went to this arcade barn thing, and they had Gorf. And I don't know whether the version they had wasn't working right, but I always remember thinking how kind of gaudy it looked. It was just like the colours and that. I thought,
Well,
bloody
the colours were very, very bright. Yeah, very in your face.
like
I mean, you imagine like, yeah. I mean, you imagine like the colours in Galaxians because they were very, very bright, but they weren't gaudily bright. You know, they were just very vivid. With Gorf, they didn't quite get it right there. You know, the colours were, I think, were a bit too sort of like brash almost. You know, so
it almost looked like somebody had programmed it in the Dragon 32 and then reported that across.
Well, I'll tell her about that.
But I remember seeing it, and I remember thinking, I can't believe this is the arcade one. It looks shite. But then I've obviously revisited it in MAME, and I realise what an epic what do you call it? What an epic game it is. Just a quick anecdote, and I have mentioned this in my waffles multiple times, but when I was down at not arcade club, this arcade barn place, what was I trying to play? I was trying to play some arcade game and couldn't get it going, and I heard a guy saying, "Oh, hang on a second, mate," and sorry, I moved out his road and he bent down and opened up the cabinet, he pressed the button, I turned around, bloody Archer McLean. Like, hell, fucking Archer McLean standing there, and I've got a photograph of him. Like, I took a cheeky snapshot, and then we went outside, and there's his Ferrari with the Archie. Away you go. His Ferrari with the 147 reg number plate.
He's doing all right then. If he's earned a Ferrari out of it.
I thought, bloody hell! But yeah, apparently that was. I mean, Archer had a humongous. He had one of the. I think he had the. According to my mate Tony, he does the arcade blogger, which is a cracking read all about classic arcades. But I think Archer McLean, I think he had probably the best personal collection of arcade games. That he's obviously lost that mantle now to Andy Day, who owns and runs an arcade club. He's got something like, I don't know, a couple of thousand arcade games. I don't think there's an arcade game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. That's his. He owns them all. But anyway, yeah, sorry that I kind of digressed. So yeah, what was that one again? That was
that was Gorf. Yep.
Yeah, you're obviously keeping your two crackers to upset me later on, aren't you?
They're my top two.
Anyway, so yeah, that was your number 3. That was the mighty Gorf, released by Midway, I think it was, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Midway on that. Yeah.
Okay, right. We've got 2 to go. Right, I know you hate this one, but I don't care if it's my fight. This is it's a vertical shooter.
Oh. I already know what it is.
I know. It's based on the war. Yeah, I like it because I can play it. It's 1942 by Capcom. It's not your favourite. Why do I like it? It's one of these games. It's a vertical shooter, but it introduces power-ups. And what I like about it is it doesn't take any prisoners. There's none of this like you've got like energy bars so you can take so many hits. This one is you get hit, you're dead. It makes you have to earn the power-ups. And when you do get the power-ups, you reap the rewards. You know, you do eventually. You get I think you go from 2 bullets to 3 bullets, and then you get like a sort of like a smart bomb type thing. But you eventually get the little mini planes that join you, and it means your ship's about a third of the screen. So
yeah,
you keep going for any length of time. That's when you can harvest points. But it's you just have to kind of make the most of it. But I like it. It's maybe not the best by any means. Marty means the best vertical shooter at all. But again, I like the fact that it's a simple game. You can see what you need to do. There were sequels. There was 1941, 43, I think it was.
Yeah, 43 is the only one I really know.
And there's 44. But these 3, again, they're like this similar game, but better graphics. Because the graphics in 1942 are, at a stretch, I would say they're functional. They're not they're quite ugly, especially the big massive ship. It doesn't even look like an aeroplane, but it's
staggeringly bland is how I would.
I'm being fine saying it's functional, but again, it plays. I just like it. It makes you earn. You have to, earn the right to get the power ups. Again, it's if you die, it's your own fault. Oh, I didn't press that button. I mean, the only other button you've got is you've got a loop the loop, which 99% of people, including myself, always forget to use. Never ever remember to use it. So if you're going to die, you can just loop the loop and kind of avoid it. But yeah, I mean, there's possibly been, it was. I'm not going to say it wasn't the first of its type like that, but it was, it was one of the early vertical shooters that did let you get power ups. I says, and obviously other games have come along since then. They've added in power meters, and you get one thing that I've completely forgot to say is I'm not a fan, and that's maybe partly why I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of Salamander. Is I like to have to earn power ups. I'm not a fan. Some of these modern Japanese shooters, you get all these power ups really easily.
I wouldn't say Salamander is entirely guilty of that, but yeah, there are a lot of newer modern ones. Yeah, they just throw power-ups at you all over.
Yeah, I've just completely made myself look an arse when I tell you what my last choice is. But anyway, I'm allowed to change my opinion. But
okay.
I like to. There's one particular shoot up. I can't remember what it is. It's probably one. I mean, there's a 1,000. Shoot 'em ups out there, some of these mental Japanese ones, and you just get given power ups within a minute of playing it. You've got about 4 or 5 power ups, and to my mind, that's taking away a bit of the challenge. And I like the fact that I like about 1942s. It's just you and your little plane, and you've got to earn the right to get the power ups. I don't like ones that just gift you. But so that's why I like it, and plus the fact that I can actually play it. That's probably part of it, but I just think it's a good early version of that type of game. Anyway, how much a fan are you?
Well, right. Well, here's the thing, right? The reason why I hate, and I gotta say, I hate 1942.
Even that arcade one, yeah.
Eh?
Even the arcade one, you hate the arcade.
Especially the arcade one.
Really.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, it's not a game that I think is so shit that I could rant about, look at the fucking state, it's fucking, like I do in so many videos. Now, in 1942, I say there's nothing there that I could rant about like that. And to me, that makes it worse than any of those games where I can, rant about the thing, because to me, very much, yeah, this is my opinion only, okay? Graphically, staggeringly bland. Audibly, staggeringly bland. And gameplay is staggeringly bland. It is utterly forgettable in every department. And so it's like there's nothing to get excited about, whether it's for, one extreme reason or the other. And I hate it for it. It's just, at least give me something to be, to get worked up about, whether it's for good or bad. But it's just nothing.
You know what? The surprising thing is, I would agree with you. Graphically, it's bland. Audibly, it's bland. It's repetitive. Can I ask you, what's your highest score on it?
I've only played it about 3 times. I can't for the life of me remember what it is.
So there's you're saying it's staggeringly bland. You're flying across water, and that's about it. You do, after about the end of the 3rd level, 4th level, you do fly over landscapes, greenery, and that kind of stuff. I'm guessing you've never actually.
Such as they are, yeah.
It's one of these games I can play. I could have 3 games of it. First game I'll get 20,000. The next game I'll get 2,000. The next game I'll get 300,000. It's just sometimes it just clicks, boom, you get in. But then once you start picking up, you get the extra weapons and that kind of stuff, and you can acquire quite a lot of extra lives in it as well, which I quite like. But you do. I totally taken board what you've said, but you do get different backgrounds. You're flying across land, and you get little Spitfires that kind of, as they're flying down towards you, they're sort of spinning like that. So, but you've got to get a fair bit of the way in. So, if you were a casual, you were sitting waiting in a taxi or something, you thought, "Oh, let's have a quick game in 1942," and you put 10 pence in, then you'd probably go, "That is shit," because it's just like bland. It's like bland.com, you know what I mean? But you do get different graphics. My highest score, I think I've had just below 500,000. I did that once, but I don't know what happens in the end. I know you get this huge big plane that takes up the whole screen, and this is if you complete the game. I think if you complete the game, you might end up with about maybe 1 million points. If you actually complete it, you get a £9 million bonus.
So £9 million? That sounds alright. Maybe I'll play it a bit more.
What the hell? Never mind this. Let me find out. You get a 9. It's either a 9 or 10 million point bonus. So if you almost complete it, you might get a score of about 1 million. If you complete it, you end up with 10 million. So it's a bit unfair. Have you ever played? There's a game. Is it Gunbird or Gunbird 2?
No, I don't know that one.
The most ridiculous points allocation you could ever play. Well, I shit you not, within about 5 minutes, within a minute, you're probably going to be on 30 million. It's just ridiculous. It's like you end up like 4 trillion.
So it's a bit like sort of like pinball, sort of like scoring more than anything else.
The points. Space Invaders and Berserk, you're right there at the bottom. You have a good game at Berserk, you get 4,000. You have a good game of Space Invaders, you get 1,260 points. Gunbird, you end up with 10 trillion. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, I do understand what you're saying about 1942. I think the fact that I can actually play it is why I like it so much.
Well, I was going to ask that actually. Do you think that the fact that it sounds like you're half decent at it? Because I mean, I don't know, but to me, scoring close to 500,000 points is an indication that you're pretty good at it. And do you think that might have something to do with why you like it so much?
Aye, I would say so. You know, it's the old V scenario. We all know that V's shit, but you can play it and you think it's not shit. So.
Although you seem to be becoming in a smaller and smaller number of people who think V is shit. I'm starting to find I'm hearing from people who actually say, you know what, actually I quite like V. You know, so yeah, it's not just me after all.
I'm just being kind. Well, the fact that I spend a lot of online time with you and Panther, and the fact that I'm in the minority. There's 2.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the starter.
Oh, yeah, I need to have a quiet one with you boys. I really do. But yeah, I think that I definitely, if you can't, and that's what annoys me about certain video channels who claim to review games. They make no attempt to actually learn the game or play the game, and then they'll just absolutely condemn it. I mean, I play games, and yeah, I don't read the instructions, and I'll just go, well, I can't play this, but I won't say this is shit. Because I can't play it.
The other thing is, of course, that you're not actually reviewing them. You're not giving them a rating at the end, you know.
I just see whether I enjoy it or not. I don't see this as a bad game, this is a good game. But I think, you know, and that's why Jeff Minter threw his toys at the pram when Zap absolutely panned Mama Llama. So to be fair, I've revisited it a couple of times and I cannot for the life of me figure it out. Can you figure it out? Can you play it?
Yeah, at the risk of sounding like some shameless channel advertising, take a look at my video. I go into how to play it in a fair bit of depth.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at my review of that, you should get, well, you'll know what to do, but it is still not easy.
I've got to say, yeah, anybody that's watching this, well, chances are you'll know who Lukozer is, but he has got a really good channel, and I've said that to you before in person, that you actually make an attempt, you actually make a concerted effort to learn games, and if there's a game that you don't know how to play and Lukozer's done a video, chances are I would say watch his video, because there's been a few games that you've explained, I've watched and I goes, oh, is that how you play it? I never knew that, you know, so it's always worthwhile. If you're too lazy to read instructions, then watch your video. But yeah, I think it's, you know, to criticise a game or whatever based on playing it for 2 minutes and you've made no attempt to actually learn the game, I think you're being a bit cheeky panning it. So
I'd go way beyond that, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I think you'd enjoy 1942 more if you stuck with it. But you know what, I do totally take on board what you're saying. It is bland looking.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It just has nothing to draw me in, so I just have no desire to even look at it, let alone play it.
Unfortunately, the C64 version is a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah, the C64 version suffers from exactly the same problem as their conversion of Bomb Jack, which was done by exactly the same people, which is the sprites are all too big, so the playing area is too small.
Yeah, and plus vertical shooters should be like that.
Yeah, so it should be. Yeah, it should be the portrait. Aspect ratio, and it's not. It's the wide one. So again, it don't work.
And you've got virtually no screen time to actually react.
No, especially when on the 64 version, when you get the planes coming up behind you. They barely appear on the screen before they've hit you, and 64 version's shite.
But anyway, as I said, this is not a, I like 1942. You don't, but I'm right anyway. So right, anyway. Right, moving on. I think you've got your second one.
All right, number 2. This is the first one where I think your definition of shooter will question this. All right. Well, you've mentioned Eugene Jarvis. He's back again, which gives away what this is. I think you already knew what it was. Robotron 2084. Now, even though you may not consider it to be a shoot 'em up, there is no way you could say it is not a good game. Of course it is, and I know you think it's a fucking great game.
I've got it on my list of also runs.
Okay.
You know what? I've literally just changed my opinion about that in the last 17 seconds. I'm kind of thinking, Robotron is a shoot 'em up. How can you not? It's about the most shoot 'em up game you could possibly play.
Yeah,
it's shooting shit. That is literally it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most fast-paced, frantic shoot 'em ups I've ever played. I mean, the difficulty level is astronomical, and that was done entirely on purpose. So it's brutal if you're new to the game. I'm sure again everyone watching this they've all played Robotron. I mean, the premise sounds unbelievably basic, and it makes the game sound really, really simple. Basically, try, though you don't have to, save the humans on the screen and shoot everything else, and that is it. So it sounds really easy. Yeah, you try playing it and telling me it is as easy as it sounds.
I think the instructions are probably don't die. I mean, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of these games, unless you have played have you played the twin stick version of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have. You've played the arcade version, you have in arcade. And presumably, do you play it in MAME using your twin stick?
No, I play it in MAME using keyboards for movement and then other keyboard controls for fire.
I couldn't do that. But yeah, you need. It's a game that was designed to have 2 joysticks, left one for moving, right one for shooting. And unless you're playing it with that, to get the full experience, you need to have proper joysticks.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And again, without trying to put Mr. Hanson's joysticks, this was the first one I asked him to make me, and it's my Robotron arcade stick. It's absolutely fantastic, and that's the way you want to play it. It's somebody who has never played a video game in their life before could just pick it up and play. I'll beat it for about 23 seconds.
Yeah, if they're lucky.
Move, shoot. That's it. Move, shoot, don't die.
The big challenge with the game, I think, is being able to move in a direction but fire in another direction. If you can do that, it's a bit like, if you can play the piano, you can play this game fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to have one hand moving totally independent and doing things to the complete, that are completely different to the other, that's the real trick. If you can do that, you've got a good chance of lasting a decent amount of time in this. I'm hopeless at it, so yeah. I mean, this is one of those, like I was saying with 1942, and thinking, do you like it because it's good? And I dare say a lot of people are going to say that about a lot of games that I like. Oh, you only like it because you're good. I love this game. I am fucking shit at it. I am absolutely hopeless, but it still keeps bringing me back.
Yeah, the fact that you can just jump straight back into it again. It's one of these. I mean, it's probably one of the most addictive video games you can play, because you can just dive straight back in and you get it. Yeah. What I would say, well, there again, the problem you've got is the controls. If you're struggling with Robotron, and Jeff Minter, who's a massive fan of the game, he kind of acknowledged that. I mean, Jeff does plagiarise other video games, there's no question of that. But he came out with his own take on Robotron, and it was called Lamatron.
Yeah.
And if you can actually, if you're clever enough to figure out how to get the two joysticks working and load it up in Steam, not Steam, the one that we know, this is the original Steam.
The ST emulator.
Yeah, an ST emulator. You can play it in the Amiga as well, but I think the spiritual home is always going to be the ST. What you want to do is, there was somebody in Yak Yak put up the best settings. What you want to do is you want to configure the two joysticks, left move, right fire, and then you want to ramp up the speed from 8 megahertz to 16, I think it is, and it just makes it move that bit nippier. And it's a far more forgiving game than Robotron. So for a beginner, if you can overcome getting the joysticks set up, that's topic for another conversation. But it's Lamatron is awesome as well. But I love Robotron. It's a game. I've got my main cabinet upstairs in the kitchen. It's a game I'll play a lot of the time. I haven't played it for a few weeks, but when I put the main cab on and I have a game of it, you can't just have one game. You have to have because most games last. Well, I mean, what's my best? What did I get? I think I'm trying to bloody remember. I think I've scored about 250,000. Thing, which it's not a good score. And again, when I was down at the arcade club, Mr. Spriggs, who is a ninja defender, I think he either holds or held the high score, score for Robotron. And watching these guys playing it is just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I've asked Paul a few tips. I said, what's the best way? And he says you just need to kind of, what I tend to do when I play it, I basically run away from the baddies, but I try and shoot. I just try and run away all the time, but try and be shooting as I'm running away. But what he says you really need to do is just run straight through them and just keep firing, because as long as you're firing, then you're going to get as long as you don't run into one of the tanks, whatever it's called.
The barrier.
I can never remember. It's one of my favourite arcade games. I can never remember the names of the baddies. The big green guy, he kind of trundles about.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called though.
But you know what, I would totally agree, and probably again, if I did this video again, I would have you would be a fool to try and say that Robotron is not a shoot 'em up. It is the shoot 'em up,
Yeah.
And again, it's out of any game that I've played, other than possibly Beam Rider, which is up there as well, it's the most zonal game you can ever play. What you want to do is you want to turn the lights out, you want to turn the sound up, lock the door so nobody's phone, switch your mobile phone off, and just play it and get into the game. And just you do, and it's like a lot of video games. If when you get beyond a certain point in the game, and you almost, it sounds like mega hippie. You become at one with the game, and it's just you focusing on the game. And Robotron is one of these games that you can get semi-proficient at it. It's an amazing game. I mean, it's it's in my top 5 video games of all time. You can't not like it. It's video games in its purest form. Move, fire. But I'll give you a quick laugh. When I was down at Arcade Club, this guy had he makes MAME cabinets, and he had Robotron running, and I was watching a couple of guys playing it, and they were like, shit, I'm like, how come they're crap? And he went, I've reversed the controls. He goes, go and have a shot and see when you reverse the controls. I'm like, you can't, your brain cannot.
Like, that would just do my fucking head in.
So left is moving and right is fire, and left is fire, right is moving. It's just wrong. It's completely wrong. But yeah, again, it's got some of the most iconic sound effects.
Oh yeah, I mean it's archetypal using Java. It's very heavy on the effects, both audio and visual. It's one of those games where I wouldn't dare play it in the dark. It'd probably set off a fucking epileptic fit. So I'll keep the lights on for that one. You know.
I mean, the fact is, the little professor does actually get he's got a place in my Mamemeister wallpaper. He's a little guy, so yeah, that says it all. I'm a fan of it. But yeah, it's a game that I never got to experience until I don't know when I first got MAME, and then I bought myself have you heard of the X Arcade controllers?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. I mean, this thing was about 100 quid to buy, and I ended up selling it. But I bought it just to play Robotron, and it's just awesome. It's absolutely awesome. So yeah. That should have been on my list actually. You know, I've got it down as an also, but yeah, it's an absolute epic game.
Well, the only reason I was thinking shall I put it in or not is because I thought it's bound to be in your list, and then I remembered, hang on, the way you were describing shoot 'em ups, you may not consider it one. So that's the only reason it's actually here.
I didn't until you convinced me, and I realised that I was a fool and an idiot to not have it. Of course, it's a shoot 'em up. Yeah, so that was your number
2.
Number 2. So we're on to the very, very last one. And again, mine's are not in any particular order. They're not. This is the best one. This was a game I think came out. I don't know when it came out. 86, 87. Yeah, I don't know. You may be able to tell me differently. And it was a game that when I saw it, I couldn't believe how beautiful it looked. I'm like, wow. And when I say Geiger, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's R-Type by Irem. Why do I love R-Type? I was talking about I don't like games that gift you power-ups pretty easily. Well,
I wouldn't say this one does.
It does make you work for it, to be fair, and then you do lose the ball again. You've got to shoot baddies to kind of get them. But you know, if I'm trying to think, I'm shit when it comes to films. But I mean, if Space Invaders was the most minimalistic looking game and it was all about the gameplay, then R-Type was just like, wow. I mean, you take a static shot of R-Type and it just looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. Yeah. It's one of these games. I mean, you were talking about 1942. Why would you want to play it? Where's the reward? You don't get rewarded with any different landscapes. Well, if you weren't shit at it, then you would know that you do. But anyway, but R-Type it rewards you constantly because you play it partly because of the challenge, but it's the sceneries are beautiful. I mean, it's kind of Geiger-esque. It's got all these aliens and
especially the second level, isn't it? That's the one where they really
find the jars and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, it's quite grotesque. But again, it's got the music is when you first start the game. It's like an epic kind of intro. It's I noticed apart from 1942, every game that we've kind of touched on sound has played a big part in it, and
Oh
I think
yeah, I think sound always plays a big part in
much, especially.
really in almost any video game genre, but in shoot 'em ups in particular, it's absolutely vital.
Yeah, it enhances the experience so much. And I
Yeah.
say R-Type had it. The sound in R-Type is awesome. And just it was before R-Type. I mean, there were probably games. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like Terra Cresta is a big favourite of mine. Slap Fight had that, but R-Type, you were suddenly met with this humongous big alien spitting fire and what have you. And then, you're getting this massive big spaceship that's moving up and down the screen. You've got to try and navigate around it. It was just like, I don't know. I was going to say, I was going to compare it to Avatar of all these wonderful. That's a bad example, but
Yeah, that's great. Avatar shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, actually, thinking about it from my point of view, it probably is a good comparison. We'll come to that in a bit, though.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful looking game, and I say the sound is awesome, and it just plays so well. And the big thing for me that I enjoy with some shoot 'em ups is you described it earlier on. It's just shooting stuff, and you get a tremendous amount of satisfaction out of blasting things, big aliens, shooting them, killing them, just awesome. So. You're a fan of are you a fan of R-Type, Lukozer?
Visually, I think it's good. Yeah, I do like the visuals. Audibly, audio. I do like the audio.
But I mean, the
game, I fucking detest R-Type. I really do. The thing is, on my channel, okay, I've covered R-Type for the 64 and the Amiga, and I've covered R-Type 2 for the Amiga. That didn't come out for 64, did it? So I've done like the Commodore computer conversions of it, but I've never covered any of the coin-op versions, whether the original one R-Type 2 or R-Type Leo. There's a very good reason for that. Because I think the Amiga versions in particular are very good, not arcade perfect, but they are very good versions of the game. Which means, the gameplay, I fucking hate the game. I just think it is way too fucking hard. It has the same thing that infuriates me with Vulcan Venture and Gradius 3 that we were talking about earlier. Visually very impressive. Well, Gradius 3 isn't, but like Vulcan Venture, visually very impressive, but it throws you in at the deep end big time. Initially you may think, oh, I'm doing okay here, but if you lose a life, you may as well give up, because you've lost all of your power-ups and now you're suddenly stuck at this restart point within a level where the level has been designed for the players who have got the power-ups and they've got the right power-up for this particular level. But if you've now lost a life and you're trying to get through it without any power-ups, forget it. It's one of those games where I think it would be better if you just got one life, because all your additional lives are just absolutely pointless.
Yes, I would disagree with that actually, because I find, I'm not bad. I can get to the third level, and if you do, I know what you're saying, and that's sometimes the problem, because you pick up power ups. That the game, obviously they have to cater for the fact that somebody's going to have 4 or 5 different power-ups, missiles and beer shooting cannons and that. They have to make it challenging. They can't have it too easy, and then lose it and you go in naked effectively. Then it's like you're teased out basically. But no, I would disagree with you on that one, because you do get the power-ups pretty quick. You'll find within about 30 seconds of dying, you'll get the wee blue, I don't know, robot that kind of goes like that, and you shoot him, then you immediately get your thing that's in front of you.
Yeah, the orb, yeah.
You've all got a power-up within, I reckon within about a minute, you could technically you'll have that, plus you'll have, like, whether it's missiles or whatever, so you can recover. But there are a few games, and I think Nemesis, and one of them, which is, just forget it, is a slap fight. If you die 3 levels into slap fight, it's a waste of time because you start off slow. You don't even have enough speed to get away from the bullets. So that would be the perfect example of give you an energy bar or something. Give you 1 life with energy. But I would disagree that R-Type, it is possible, because it's a game that I do play quite a lot. It is possible to kind of recover fairly quickly.
I think what you've just said is the difference. It's a game you play a lot. I'm sure if it is a game that you play, like relatively often, you'd probably be able to progress quite well. Actually, that really is a case of stating the obvious, isn't it? And I have not played it all that much, despite the fact that, well, I had the Amiga version back in the day. I had a pirate copy, which I was rather glad about. If I'd paid 25 quid for that, I'd have been fucking livid. But I never saw the coin-op original. It never appeared in Southend for some reason. I have no idea why not. But yeah, none of the Southend arcades had it. So it wasn't until I got MAME, by which time I was already sick of the sight of R-Type, because I just hate it. So when I started it up in MAME, I had like about 2 or 3 goes, and I just thought, yeah, this is just like the fucking Amiga version. So I'd had enough. So I haven't played it much at all. I barely looked at it.
Have you got off the level at all? You got off the first level?
On the coin-op version, no, because say I've only played the coin-op version about 3, maybe 4 times, I think, tops. So I've never got off the first level on the coin-op. On the Amiga version, actually no, it was R-Type 2 I got off the first level. It's actually in my review of R-Type 2. I got past the. I couldn't believe it when I made it to the boss, and then when I beat it, I was like, fucking hell, that was the first time I'd ever done it, and here it is on the video. But yeah, in the first R-Type, no, I never got off it.
Yeah, you know what? Just talking there, it's got me thinking about something that we've not actually touched on. The early shoot 'em ups they were random. You couldn't. Yeah, you could pick up strategies and tips how to avoid things, whatever. But they were thoroughly random. R-Type is a memory game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Salamander is a memory game. So the reason, well, I would imagine it's a memory game. The reason I can get to like level 3, not every time, on R-Type is because I know where I need to go. I know, the baddies, and like the big boss at the end, you can kill him with your eyes shut. Fire the thing into his stomach and then move up, and then that's him. Just keep pressing fire. 10 seconds later, boom. So it's a piece of piss. But that's because I know what to do. It's a memory game, and that's why a lot of these more modern shooters. I mean, was Salamander a memory game?
Yeah. Once you knew where the enemies are coming from, no problem. Salamander, I can get to. Actually, this is. I can usually get to the boss of level 4 every time. Although typically, when I did my review of the coin-op version, I didn't get the boss. I got on to level 4, but I didn't reach the boss of it. But the boss on level 4 of Salamander is ludicrous. Makes R-Type look easy,
But yeah, that's, I say, there's shoot 'em ups. It's not just shoot 'em ups. I think there's platform games, probably your Ghosts and Goblins and that it comes down to kind of memory, and again, it comes down to actually playing the game. But I mean, as I said, for all the reasons I mentioned, the sound, the graphics, it's just a beautiful game. You want to see you want to see what's on the next level.
Well, that was the thing that I was like really angry with R-Type over, was the fact it looks so good and sounds great. I wanted to like it. There was another game actually we were talking about in a video a few. Oh, that was it. Cauldron looks great, sounds good. So you want to like it.
Yeah.
You just can't. I just fucking hate it.
You go back multiple times and you just keep getting a kicking. And you got a bastard, and then you go back again a couple of days later, and because it's such a beautiful game, you want to get into it. Yeah. But anyway, that's my fifth and last one. R-Type by Irem. And if you like R-Type, go and check out. If you want to play one of the probably the most prettiest arcade games, is R-Type Leo. That is stunning looking, absolutely beautiful, and it's a lot easier, I have to say.
I must admit, I disagree with that. I think the original R-Type looks far better than R-Type Leo. To me, Leo looks a bit like a PlayStation game.
It's R-Type's got a real ambience and atmosphere about it. It's all kind of aliens and that kind of stuff, quite grotesque. Leo is brighter visuals. I mean, it looks like it's made of sweets. Everyone's bright and you know. I don't know, but one thing is a lot easier. I remember the very first time I played R-Type Leo, and I managed to get to, I think, the third level in my first go, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong here? Have I somehow turned off the thing? I'll give you a laugh actually. What was it we were playing? My mate at the computer club, he was playing some. In fact, it was R-Type, and it was the arcade R-Type. And my mate is shit at games. You won't mind me saying that because he's just crap at games. I mean, I'm not good, but he's woeful at games. And he loaded up R-Type, and I was sitting watching him playing, and I thought, Christ, this guy's doing all right. And then I went to get a cup of tea, and I came back, and he was like halfway through the second level. I thought, I was waiting for Jeremy Beadle to come out and Billy Mitchell sitting playing it for my mate. And I'm sitting watching, I thought, he's just again beating level 2. And then he got midway through level 3, and I went, give me that a minute. And then I moved, and the ship was passing through all the baddies. He'd somehow fucking detection, and he didn't even know. I knew something was up, and he went, "Oh, I don't believe it." I says, "You're shit at that game. How could you get to the third level?" And
without collision detection, even I can do okay in R-Type, Actually, something it just reminded me actually with R-Type Leo. I'll tell you what it does remind me of. Another coin-op game is Salamander 2. I don't know if you've seen that. Now, as much as I love the first Salamander game, I hate Salamander 2. It looks fucking horrible, and the gameplay is just they basically taken Salamander and totally ruined it. And yeah, the way, not the actual graphic style, but the way the graphics move about and that does remind me of R-Type Leo. I say it has that almost like PlayStation sort of like look to it, the way that the visuals all appear. I just don't like it.
I know what you mean. I've never seen. So I'm just having a quick look in Google there. I wasn't even aware that Salamander 2 existed.
Yeah, I did a review of it a while ago. Actually, it was the review I did after I did the coin off of the first Salamander. It's crap. Don't waste your time with it.
Is that actually a bad game? Right? Is that you seen that? It's actually not a particularly good game.
It's yet another one of those games where I can say it has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Trademark Lukozer, 2020. Right, anyway, that's my last. Right, go on then. Go and hit me with your last one. And
right, okay. Well, this is one that, again, you were saying you don't consider it to be a shoot 'em up. I don't know if that has now changed, but I don't know how you can't or how you could say it's not a shoot 'em up. Not only my favourite arcade shoot 'em up, my favourite coin-op game, third favourite game of all time from 1980, Berserk.
Classic number.
So hit me with it. Why is this not a shoot 'em up?
Having obviously kind of thrashed it out as to what makes a shoot 'em up a shoot 'em up. I think for me, maybe I'm just a bit stubborn. Is I always think that your thing has got to be at the bottom, and the things come for the top, or left and they come across the side. There is no. 1942. You've got this plane that you can move anywhere in the screen, and the baddies swoop about you. So really, there's really no difference between 1942 and Berserk, other than it's just the layout of the game. I don't know what I would describe Berserk as. I personally still wouldn't describe Berserk as a shoot 'em up. But then I don't know what. The term that I was thinking, you hear the run and gun game genre. Your sort of Contras and Grisors, whatever, you're on and you shoot sort of thing. But no, I would stand to be convinced otherwise. But yeah, I don't see why Berserk could not be classed as a shoot 'em up. Personally, I would never. I've got it down in my list here. Anybody that watches my channel knows that it's my top 5 video games of all.
Oh yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could never class it as a shoot 'em up. I'm interested. What do you guys think? Is Berserk a shoot 'em up? Is it not a shoot 'em up? I don't know. So what? Apart from me trying to convince me that it's a shoot 'em up when you're never going to do. What is it about the game that you like? What would you say is?
It's difficult to actually point out what is the one thing about it that makes me think it is so great. It's just that it does everything right. There is no music in it at all, so it's pure sound effects, and of course, again, a very early synthesized speech in it. And the speech sounds great. It fits the game brilliantly. I'm sure that speech that's in it was done purely because of the limitations of the hardware and the software that was available at the time, but nevertheless it works every bit as well now as it did back in 1980 when the game first came along. Just suits it right, absolutely nailed on. I think the sound effects again also do a great job here. The sound effects are very simple. It's basically the sound of either you or the robots firing and a robot getting destroyed, and that's it. Oh, and if you're killed, so there's 3 sound effects, because whether you're firing or the robot's firing, it makes the same sound, doesn't it? Pretty sure it does. Actually, no, it is slightly different, isn't it? So yeah,
remember, considering how many thousands of times I've played it, I can't remember. Possibly.
Okay, well, at the most, then there are 4 sound effects, but they all sound great. They fit the game absolutely superbly. The other thing is, loads of people always say, "Oh, the game looks really basic. It looks really, shit and all that." I actually think that visually, I think the game is fucking great. I think if I had to point out one particular thing about it that keeps drawing me back to Berserk, it is the visuals, especially when the robots, once you got off the first level and they turn to that sort of reddy orangey colour. I think they just look great like that. Why? This is such a stupid reason as to why I think it visually looks great, but it does. I don't care that the maze, if you call it a maze, looks very, very simple. It's just it's still a little extra something in there. The fact that you're moving around, well, you're not fixed on just one screen. You're constantly moving, off the end of the screen and into the next one. I just fucking love the game, yeah.
There's, again, if you're a regular to my channel, you know how much I love the game, and it was a game that I remember seeing in the arcades and I just completely dismissed it. That looks shit, and I moved on. And then it was I can't remember how many years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I have no idea what made me play it, but I started playing it, and I started to get quite good at it, and I thought, I'm really enjoying this. And I kept talking about it on my channel, and quite a few friends, people on YouTube that are watching my channel, they started to play it because they thought, fucking hell, this Scottish bloke keeps going on about how bloody brilliant this game is. And they started playing it, and I know for a fact that, you know, some of these guys they love the game, and I'm exactly the same. I mean, on paper it should not work. The maze is bland. The little robots they're again functional. The main protagonist, Evil Otto, is a bloody circle with a face.
Yeah, smiley face on it. Yeah.
And have you seen the scrolling? I mean, I'm sure the guy that did Cardinal in the C64 program is scrolling, and everything just kind of jars. And you know, it looks horrendous, but you know what? It's functional. It does what it has to do. It's minimalist, and it's the essence of an arcade game at its very, very best. What other game taunts you as you like if you decide not to kill him?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Chicken fight like a robot. Yeah.
It's just it's just a fantastic game, and it's one of these games that the simplicity belies the difficulty. If you think, I mean, I can get. Have I broken 20,000? I think I did. I think I've just broken 20,000. I did it on
I've never broken 20,000.
Anybody that can, I'm not being funny, but I mean, when I was at Play Glasgow and I broke 20,000, and one of the guys who kind of, you know, he supplies the machines, he was kind of watching me. He goes, "Oh, you're doing great. That's a cracking score." And I was really, really. I mean, my mate Charlie Farr, he can score. I think he's scored over 100,000 on it, but that's kind of world record. But it's again, I say, it's functional. It's the gaming. It's the essence. Sorry, it's basic game. You know exactly what you need to do. You die, it's your own fault. It's your own fault. You know what I mean? It's just a fantastic game, and I love it. I mean, there's people that watch the channel know that it's in my top 5 arcade games of all time.
Yeah, I think when you're saying about the scrolling, how the scrolling is very jerky, I think that is definitely a limitation of the hardware at the time. You know, the scrolling is about as good as you could possibly hope for. The other thing is, of course, it does have some visual glitches. I mean, if you walk, you know, your matchstick man walks too close to the wall, you've got Spectrum-esque colour clash there.
That's right, I forgot that, yeah.
And also, if a robot shoots at you and you can position yourself right, so, you know, the gap between your head and the body on your matchstick man, and the shot goes straight through it. And I used to be able to do that almost every time.
To do that.
Now I can't. I'm hopeless at it now, but I used to be able to position myself like every time there. So that was the sort of visual glitch that you could actually take advantage of. But I mean, I'm sure there are going to be someone in the comments who will say, "Hang on, how can you say 1942 looks bland, but you think Berserk looks fantastic?" The thing is, you also have to take into account when the game came out. In 1980, I mean, in 1980, we still had, you know, plenty of games that were on black and white screens. So, you know, the fact that it had these really nice, vivid colours there, not quite as vivid as Galaxians, but certainly, you know, striking. I think that's just, you know, that's what did it for me. And the other thing is that when 1942 came along, we already had like great looking games. I mean, we already had Space Harrier when 1942 came along. I mean, you know, you look at the two and it's like, yeah, okay. You know, I stand by it. I always thought that even though it had, you know, its colour clash issues, I always thought Berserk looked great. I still think it looks great, you know. So, Yeah.
I'm going to let you see something. Which I don't know
Yeah, you may need to turn your light on so we can see it.
I know, I was getting gradually closer and closer to the screen so you could actually see me. Where the hell did I put that? Oh, there we go. This was in the computer club. In the computer club, I had a Secret Santa a couple of years ago. And this is a piece of metal.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Aye, it's just a piece of metal and it's got Robotron, but yeah, I mean, they just look awesome. The little, it's even got the side art. It's got the little.
That's that is the archetypal Berserk image, isn't it?
Just absolutely.
But yeah, I think it looks fantastic. I've got no problems with the visuals. So I don't know why people say, "Oh, it looks really basic and shit." I don't agree.
And again, one of the things that I've kind of there's only a couple of games that I kind of do put a lot of time into, but Berserk is one that I would probably claim. I mean, I was reading that Zap magazine, Zap Annual. They were talking. They reviewed Berserk Redux on the C64, and they gave it a great review. Personally, it's a nice game. It's nothing like Berserk.
That's it. I think it's a great game. And it's as good a conversion as you could probably get on a 64. But it is missing something. There's something just not quite right.
Yeah, just everything about it is wrong. The maze layout, the baddies, the movement, the firing, everything. It's a lovely... Yeah, they've got the speech top notch, but everything else. And the thing I love about Berserk is one of the biggest tips I can give to anybody that wants to try and get semi-decent at the game is don't always exit from the side, because Evil Auto always comes out from where you enter. So if you've then got the screen width distance,
yeah, the maximum distance you can
whereas
have.
If you come in at the top and then you're here, he's going to come in at the top, and before you know it, he's going to get you. So do that. Don't worry about. Make sure you try and get to the other end of the screen as quick as you can. If you fanny about too much, don't worry about killing robots. You can then position. You can use Evil Auto to kill the baddies.
And
they'll kill themselves. They'll walk into walls. They'll shoot each other. There is actually a bug, and I've only seen it on a YouTube video where I'm looking at that for inspiration, where you can actually Evil Auto will pass, like he'll kill baddies, but sometimes there is a bug where he'll not kill them. He'll go through the robot but not actually kill him.
All right, I've not seen that.
Yeah, I've never actually seen that, but don't worry about shooting the baddies. Just try and get from left to right as quick as you possibly can. Once you're on the right hand side of the screen, then you can waste a bit of time and shoot them, or move up and down, and they'll move up and down with you and get me walking the walls, whatever. And then ultimately position yourself so that when Evil Auto comes out, he's going to he'll just make as the crow flies, he'll make a straight. He'll move right across the screen. So try and position the robots between you and him, and he'll kind of kill them. But that's some top tips for free. But yeah, absolutely excellent choice. It's quite simply not a shoot 'em up, but it's a fantastic. But I think that's one we can drag into another video. But genuinely interested. What do you guys think? What is your definition of a shoot 'em up? Just a couple of other ones, and I actually thought that you were going to mention this one, and I can't believe that I've missed it. This one, a couple of also ran had Berserk, Robotron, Commando. Would you
like Coinot Commando?
Is that?
I definitely cast it as a shoot 'em up, yeah. But I actually thought that was going to be on your list, and I'm kind of glad that it's not. I've never liked the Coinot version of Commando.
Yeah, I've got it on my list, but I've got it as not a shoot 'em up. One that I can't believe we didn't even mention is Asteroids. How did I not mention that?
Well, there's no question that it's definitely a shoot 'em up game, but as much as I liked Asteroids back in the day, I thought that was a great one. I actually prefer the Atari 2600 version of it to to the Coinot. I think it's a great game, no doubt about it. Just not quite good enough to make me top 5.
See, if I had done my list over again, I think that might have sneaked in at the cost of appetite, maybe. Don't know. I mean, asteroids. I don't know why I didn't mention that. I mean, again, we've touched on that quite a few times. The blackness of the vector screen with the bright vectors, the glowy goodness, and it's got that real bass.
Yeah.
And
especially when you when you fire, it's got that very high pitched firing sound. But then when you actually hit the asteroid with the shot, and that's a like real like bassy explosion, it does sound fucking great.
I'm getting big sort of fuck off subwoofer in the arcade card.
Yeah.
Again, it's a bit like Berserk. It's the minimalist approach, basic graphics, the white against the black. With the awesome sound, and again the sound in that was just awesome, and the same as sound in Berserk. The sound in Berserk, I wouldn't say it was particularly outstanding. I mean, the speech was amazing. I wouldn't say the firing sound was anything to write home about.
That's it. I mean, I think the sound fits the game fucking well, and they sound great in the context of the game. Yeah, I mean, if you heard them, it's nothing that really stands out. It's certainly not one that is as memorable as, say, the Space Invaders or Defender sound effects.
Yeah, nah, definitely. So anyway, listen, I think that just about wraps it up. Have we managed to keep under 2 hours? No, have we? Fuck. Anyway.
No.
I apologise now. So anyway, if you have watched this video to the end, I need you to say banana. It just remains for me to say to Big Lukozer, thank you very much for joining me once again, Squire. And finally, thank you very, very much for watching, guys. Till the next time, take it easy. Take care.